Teacher feedback on student writing. Teachers' response to student writing is as conspicuous and arresting a feature in composition teaching as Cyrano's nose on his face. But mainstream scholarship in rhetoric and composition has never really looked in the mirror and realized the need to highlight this distinctive nose in any serious theory of student composition. This quote by Phelps helps us realize that if we do not look at our own actions in the teaching and learning process, like our nose in the mirror, we are missing a key ingredient. However, we rarely get coached on how to give feedback on student writing. Even though we know teacher feedback is important, there is little research on this topic. Because of its importance, teacher feedback on student writing is the focus of this presentation. Constructive feedback has to have three elements. It has to be timely. The greater the time from writing, the less salient it is. It has to be specific. It needs to focus on specific passages and specific errors that are clear to students. It has to be task-focused. Students need to know what to do next. In order for feedback to be effective, that is, motivate and guide the changes in student writing we identify as important, it needs to embody these three characteristics. In giving feedback, we need to consider what is critical. We need to make our feedback count. Wiggins and McTighe propose thinking about curriculum in terms of what is enduring understanding, what is important to know and do, and what is worth being familiar with. We need to focus our feedback on enduring understandings. We need to give the feedback that students can process and learn from in that teachable moment. It's easy to circle all the spelling mistakes or cross out all the unnecessary commas, but instead we should focus on where the student is in his or her development of written language and what his or her understanding is. That will determine how you can make a quality difference at the moment. The issue is how you can give them feedback now that will lead them to an enduring understanding. If you focus on surface features rather than content, students respond in kind, resulting in little improvement. Consider the emerging text as an improvable object. When you and your students take the attitude reflected in this quote, writing, revising, and thinking can be liberated from a right and wrong approach. If students have the attitude that writing can always be improved, they may be more willing to do the hard work of revision. They will also become better peer reviewers for others, including their own children who bring writing home. What feedback can do when it is done right is bridge understanding from expert, teacher, to novice, students. It can scaffold metacognitive strategy use if you remind students what they should be focusing on. It can help focus students on forms, models, and language choices that are appropriate to academic literacy. It can provide individualized, personalized instruction. It can reinforce instruction given in whole groups. Writing to learn prompts can be used to check for understanding. These prompts include admit slips to use before a lesson to check for prior knowledge or assumptions, crystal ball to check for assumptions by asking what might happen next, found poems to get the gist and have students rearrange something they've read or written without adding new words, awards to check understanding by having students nominate the most helpful, most important, most influential element of a content lesson, yesterday's news to check recall by asking what the headline from the last class was, take a stand to get opinions shared and discussed, letters to ask imaginary or real others for an explanation of their work, stance, or action, exit slips to get closure with a summary or short list of what students learned. In addition to using these prompts to check for understanding, they can be used to check that a particular skill is being used in context. For example, if you're teaching quotations, you can tell students to write in response to the yesterday's news writing to learn prompt, and that you're going to not only check their understanding, but also check to see if they can use quotations. Focus your feedback on the skill that you have identified for the students so they can focus on this and you can determine if they can use the skill in context. The detect, diagnosed, and revise strategy can help students take responsibility for revision. You choose a slice of writing, such as a paragraph. You put checks at the end of the lines, one per error. If there are multiple errors in a line, the end of the line would have multiple checks. You hand back the writing to the students. They identify the error, detect, determine how to fix it, diagnosed, revise the passage, and hand it back to you. Students can then create their own proofreading checklist. This activity helps students detect errors for themselves. Rubrics can help you provide feedback to students on their writing. You can use your state writing standards to design your rubrics. Remember, rubrics are holistic tools. Do not use a single cell to make a decision or assign a score. You should help students weigh meaning as most important. You should use rubrics as a classroom and instructional management tool, not a skills assessment. High-quality feedback takes time, but here are some tips to address the time burden. Don't grade everything. Intermittent feedback is effective. You can overwhelm students by trying to grade everything. Respond to first drafts, not final products. Students do not process feedback in the same way when they get a final paper back that they know they are not responsible for revising as they do when they get a draft back that they need to revise. Use peers to be authentic readers. Provide opportunities for authentic readers in the program, community, or world via the Internet. The teacher does not always have to be the one giving feedback.